Sorry guys, busy morning, just trying to get some stuff done. I'm just doing the end plate. Before I can put on the tongue, I need to have this end basically welded up so I can flip it upside down and be done, because this piece without this vertical bar on it is pretty floppy and crappy, and I'd rather fit it on this versus build it on the table. It's a little bit easier to make sure you're just right. So instead of having it all floating on a table with no edges, it's nice to be able to clamp it to the edge and get it done. But I'm just about to weld this guy up. Sorry for the super long video, guys. I know it's a long one. I've been so busy and I just don't have the time to go back and break it into smaller sections. I'll try to keep them shorter from now on. Either way, this is just for fun. Hope you enjoy it and you can stick through it. If not, that's okay.
Hey, so I'm trying to figure out my tongue. So there's obviously a million different ways to do them, different configurations. Some people like short tongues, some people like long tongues. It really depends on what you're doing with it, storage. There's lots of different factors. I've always found with trailers that I've had, utility or anything like that, that the longer the tongue is, the better it drives, and it's way better for backing up. You get more turning radius, yada yada. Anyway, so I'm doing like an A-frame kind of style, and it'll go back into it and then out. And I'm thinking about 3'5". Typically they're anywhere from 2 feet to 4, but 4 is pretty big. But they can get bigger, but also then you get longer. So storage becomes an issue the longer you get, and many things. So I'm thinking about 3'5" for me is probably pretty good. So it'll be 3'5" from the ball to the farthest tip of the curve. If you're running maybe a big tongue box, then you might want to have something longer, bigger, wider. I don't want to run a tongue box on a vintage trailer, something that looks vintage and old. They never had those. They look big and bulky and ugly. I don't really care for them. So if anything, I have a little project I will be putting on the front, see if that happens. But it will not be a tongue box, and whether the electronics or anything like that go in there will be to be decided. It'll all depend when I put the axle on here and see how everything goes, where my tipping point is, what my tongue weight is. If I need to have the weight near the back or the front, that'll adjust that as I go. So I'm basically going to get the whole substructure, whole skeleton together, everything but the axle on it, and doors in, hatch on, no skin or anything like that. But I'm gonna get basically it fully done, and then I'll put the axle underneath it and I'll slide it back and forth, play with it a little bit, see if I can kind of get a rough idea of where the tipping point is for a good tongue weight. I mean, once you put the skin on, it's gonna be a little bit different, but I mean, it's pretty hard to weld it all up once that's done. So the problem with building it without building a prototype is I only get one shot at it. So, but we'll see. I don't think it's going to be a big issue. But that's what I'm doing. Is I'm going to take my bars off. These are going to be full-size bars, not this little stuff. It'll all be 2-inch. So in front of the trailer will be 3'5", and then it'll go back one. I haven't decided, maybe even 2 bars back on the crossbars. And I'll have to take it all apart. I'm going to cap the ends. So basically it'll go straight, go like this, and then back. And then I'm going to cap all the ends just so it's nice. You don't get bugs and spider webs and crap in there. So I'm going to do that. A little bit extra work, but I think it's worth it. It finishes a little nicer. So I'm going to probably work on the tongue. The reason I'm switching to the tongue is the walls aren't attached. So if I build the tongue, I can flip the whole thing upside down and weld the tongue on before the sides are on. So it makes life a lot easier. So that's what I'm doing. Tongue day.
So what I did here, I didn't film it because there's back and forth to the saw, cutting everything, and it's just too hard to do in here. So what I did is, if you can see here, I've taken the angle iron frame and I've put a piece of 1 inch on the side and then a piece of angle. You can use flat bar, whatever, because that needs to be my outside dimension, because that frame, the sidewalls, they go on this face, so it's going to widen it by 1 inch each side. So I added 1 inch spacer and this to hold it so I can butt up these angles, so I know that I'm at the right width for my tongue. So basically how I did it, decided where I wanted to be, how far back, and then cut it to there. Then I took an angle finder and found the angle of this, and then you divide it in two, and that's your angle. Well, once you mapped out where up on the front of the tongue here you want to be. So you need those 2 points. Once you figure out those angles, this one's a little bit different, but this one basically I took the angle, divided in two. This one, basically, I just spaced them up and I just squared the line, and then I cut it. I had to cut it mostly by hand because the saw will not do an angle that harsh. So that's basically what I did. So centered that, put those on, space it out, so this will be under the wall and under the frame. So it'll give lots of support. It also crosses over the crossbar at the front here, if you can see it, because the wall ends right about here. This is oversized right now because I've got to do all the curves and everything. But so the wall ends here, so it will cross this. So it'll give strength to this piece, it gives strength to the crossbar here, and then this will stiffen up the tongue. I chose, as far as how far back to go, I chose, here, let me move this. I chose to go to this first crossbar here. The reason I stopped it there and didn't go farther, weight for one, and for two, also I want to put a little sliding shoe holder underneath it. So if I have this go in front of underneath the door, it has to be under the body height, which I probably don't want. So to be on the safe side, I just went up to this, but I brought everything back to basically that thing. And this just pops on there. So I'll put it together here and I'll show you what it looks like. So there's the basic idea of what the tongue looks like. So you can see the edges here. Comes to basically just shy of this. I'll cap these ends and the front one, but all of this will be welded permanently to it eventually. So it's easier to work on upside down. That's why I'm switching gears, and I took the sidewalls off and flipped it upside down, because I can map this all out and get it welded in place without the walls on, and it makes it a lot easier than trying to weld upside down. So that's kind of where I'm at, but sorry I couldn't show you it all, but this is basically the tongue, how it's gonna look and work. I decided to go to 3.5 foot. I was gonna go with a 3, but I thought they always drive better the longer they are. So that's where I'm at. That was today's project. So I don't know if I'm gonna do any more today. We'll see. But yeah. Just a cool little trick if you're trying to plug something like this. I didn't spend the time to make all these super fancy. They're just a plug just to fill it. So I'm just gonna drop them in, but the problem is you put it in and it's aluminum. You can't use a magnet or anything else. It wants to fall in. So you take it on the biggest side, whatever is longer with the most amount of slop in it, put a piece of Scotch-Brite in it, and then when you put it in, it has like a spring load to it, so it will hold it while you can tack the other corners. You can kind of adjust and it won't keep falling out on you. There we go. Well, it's still a little finicky to get it just right, but it's a pretty decent little way to fill that gap and give you it so it's tight and doesn't want to fall out. It's just getting that in and out balance. Just like that. Tack it, and then you can pull out the Scotch-Brite and weld up the bottom. So this is what I got done today. I got the end plate on, the big channel on the end. This will get cut off here and curved, and I got the actual tongue on it now, all jinged into place, all flat. So what I'll do is tack it all together in place, maybe put a couple braces on it so I can take it off, take it over to the table, and I can weld it on the table, because I want to be able to weld all the way around these. So I'd rather do it off. I can do some of it on, and then once stuff like the underneath side of this is done, then and the underneath of that, I can weld it to the actual base frame. And then after that I can start putting the walls up. Then I can kind of play with the front and back, and then that's all custom, but that has to be done with the walls all on. That's where I'm at. Didn't video much of it. I was just really tired today and trying to get some stuff done, and it was basically the same thing you've already seen, so I kind of skipped through the end part, and this is where we're at. See, the ends are all capped. Same with the one up front. It's all ready to go. Time to weld the tongue, flip it, then grind it all up, and then I'll weld it onto the base frame. I just wanted to do it on here to make sure everything was perfect. But it's coming. Hey, so as you'll notice, the tongue sticks out. I explained it, but now you can kind of see it. So the tongue sticks out the sides because the walls sit on here and then it becomes flush. So basically the idea is this way I can have the support under the strongest part of the angle, which is the outside, and I can also have the support holding up the walls, and I can it'll help tie it in together nicely, I hope. Hopefully everything's okay. This will all the aluminum siding will come down to here, but then the trailer is going to be skirted another 2 inches or something like that, so you won't actually see this. I don't like it when you see that stuff. I think it looks crappy. So ideally, once this is all done, you won't actually see that. So that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. But that's why it's sticking out for anybody just joining. It's out 1 inch because the trailer walls sit on top on the outside. So that's why it's like that. As you can see with the wall in place, the wall's up and there's a gap here. This will all be fine-tuned, but basically the idea is I got my floor strength here and also a place for my floor to sit on with this. But now, as you can see, if the aluminum was to come down here, it has nowhere to lay on, nothing to fasten to. So what I'm going to do is take a second piece of the 3-inch, I'm going to basically sit it on there and tilt it till I get that angle. See what I'm saying? I gotta fine tune it. That was just a rough cut. So basically I'm gonna make it do this all the way along, but it'll be attached and welded all the way along that, which will really strengthen this up. I haven't decided yet. I might even put a connector across the top for extra support, but this will create a big V. So it should have lots of strength. They'll have a good place to fasten to for the whole skin on the front that comes right down to the frame. And yeah, so that's kind of the plan, is to move this around till it gets it just right, get the angle just right, put that in place, and then I can tack it along the top, weld it on the bottom, and this will all become one, and it'll all have a place to go. So that's the plan. All right, so it's time to square it all up. I need to get these walls so they're perfectly 90 to the floor. A little bit of back and forth. Never easy, but what I'm going to start with doing is I'm going to level the table, level the frame, and then I'm going to get it close with a level on the walls. That should be pretty close. Then I'll double check it corner to corner in a bunch of places and make sure that's good, and then I'll try and I'll probably get some aluminum braces and weld them back and forth just to hold it there while I put in the roof spars and do all the welding, because I don't want to weld any of this on the side here until it's ready, because that could cause it to shift or bow or whatever. So that's kind of the plan, is to get it all squared up today, or at least close, and then get it ready so I can weld it. I'm gonna say it's a little bit of trial and error, back and forth. It's, especially by myself, it's a little hard to do, but we'll get it done. So that's the project of the day, is to try and get this thing level and square. So. Just working on the back piece here. This is left open because it has to be all customized and the frame can't move. It's easier just to wait till I get to a certain point. So basically what I'm doing is, once I get this thing all squared up, I'll do this after. I think it's going to be easier, and I can get it finely tuned better. So what basically is going on, this is in the thickness of the metal, 1/4 inch. That's in 1/4 inch. So this bar will go right across the back like this, creating a perfect edge along the bottom for the sheet to lay on. And then there will be another piece that goes up and down right here, because I need my 3 inches for my floor. So I'd always like to end on a 90. So it'll have a 90 here and there, and it'll probably be just welded into a triangle, so it should be super strong. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just fitting this. I forgot my camera today. I'm just using my phone. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's a little bit back and forth, playing around. I didn't really film it, but it's not rocket science. I basically take this big wide flat piece out here, I square it to the back, get my measurement out, draw my line, take off 1/4 inch each side, and then cut it up. It's a little awkward to cut with the sides on, but we make it work. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing, getting that so it's ready to go. And yeah, so this piece will go across the whole back, have a nice edge all the way in the back. Inside it'll be all like that, and then it'll get another piece on the back side to make it into a full frame. There'll be a bar up here for screwing and attaching and stuff. But that's basically what I'm doing today.
So I've been kind of busy and working like crazy and kind of tired, so I might have missed a couple little things, but nothing crazy. I've just been putting a couple blocks in here. I've been just trying to figure out the galley. It's a little complicated because I don't have a plan for it yet, because it's an odd shaped space, and I'm trying to keep it light, trying to use different materials. So it's a little bit trying as far as trying to guess how I'm going to build it. So I'm just putting a couple crossbars and stuff like that where I think I might have shelves. And the biggest problem is normally you would put a piece of plywood on this inside, and then you could screw wherever you want to that piece of plywood. I'm trying to avoid doing that. I love wood. I'm very torn with this build as far as I really want to put that warmth that wood gives into the trailer, but I don't want the maintenance. And I want this trailer to be able to, basically the shell will always stay perfect other than having to polish the sides again. And it should never have to come apart. And I want this thing to be basically the entire interior of it be removable. So anything can be replaced at any time. Because after doing lots of research and finding different things, for the weight and cost issue, the wood for the floor itself is just the way I'm gonna have to go. It's just too expensive with all the different cool things out there. They either come at a huge cost or they come with more weight, and more weight I can't do. And the huge cost at some point is just stupid. Because I had looked at all sorts of different things, honeycomb aluminum, all sorts of crazy plastic, but a lot of it is very expensive, and also a lot of it comes with a fair bit of weight unless you spend a lot of money, and it's just not worth it. So to do this, I basically am trying to keep it so I can put bars in here so I don't have to have an actual structural panel at the side to bolt everything to. I'm hoping that everything will be kind of bolting directly into tubes. It's just very hard when you're trying to build something that's just an oddball deal. I mean, a lot of guys build it on AutoCAD, and I'm sure that's a lot easier. I don't, unfortunately, have the knowledge for that or the know-how, and because it's a complicated shape, and I don't know how a lot of it's going to work, because because it's such an oddball shape and it's not made of wood, it's a little bit more complicated. So anyways, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting some more uprights put in here, some crossbars where I think there's going to be some, possibly some shelves. At least I will have some points to be able to attach any panels later on.
So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. So I'm just gonna, you can see these kind of, like the rest of the frame to kind of click into place. It'll help me keep everything straight. So I get do this to the back 2 sides. And then also putting in this plate here, which is for the bumper, because this has an old bumper on it. So I'm putting a plate in here so I can bolt it on after. I don't know if I'm doing a front cabinet or anything else. Like I say, I'm still kind of torn as far as the interior. One thing I am doing that is a bit different, I'm going to build this like a car interior, and all the panels will be removable. I'm probably going to use so far my go-to is probably going to be probably about 3/16 maybe, 3/16 ABS on the inside, but I'm going to wrap it like my bus, so it's going to be completely upholstered. But I'll probably attach it all with Christmas tree clips, which is kind of cool because I will be able to access my wiring, anything I need from the inside without taking the outside off. So that's the idea, is that the entire floor, cabinets, all the panels is completely removable. So I will have basically a shell that'll last a lifetime, and the inside, anything inside that has the potential for rot, or you want to change something, or you just change your style and you want to update it, everything's replaceable. That's what I'm trying to build. So it's a tall order, and it's something that, as far as I've seen, I've never seen anybody do it that way, but I don't see really a reason why I can't. So that's what I'm going to try and do. It's just a little bit more complicated doing it all this way. Complicated, it seems to be my thing. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to be cutting these pieces, fitting them all, and then I'll match the other side to this side, and then weld it all up, and I should be able to stand it up and start welding it together pretty soon. So that's the plan. That's where I'm at. If I've missed a couple little things here and there, well, sorry, I'm just tired. But all right, so you guys always see me bevel the edges and everything else. Just a little tip for anybody building anything, if you're new to welding or anything like that, whether it's aluminum or steel. When you bevel something like a 90-degree corner, you have to be careful. The inside here, I don't know if you can see it, the very inside edge, you don't want to touch that. You want to just kind of bevel it just up to that and leave that shape, because when you go to put it back together with another piece and you want to say sharpen the points and everything, you want to be able to line it up so it actually fits perfectly. You can see the faces still line up flawlessly because I didn't touch the actual inner face to change the shape of it. So it makes your life really easy for lineup, but you can see why I do it. I can take that out right to a perfect point. I can basically smooth that all the way around and I won't lose my weld. It gives me enough room to weld it, get good penetration, and grind it smooth, so I don't have what you would get if you had 2 ends like this, well, except for that one here, hold on. If you had 2 ends like that, you tried to weld them together, and you wanted to grind that thing smooth, basically you'd grind half your weld off, and it's not really ideal. So if you can make a valley for it, your heat goes in well, becomes very strong, and you can smooth it because basically you're building it back up to where it was. So just a little tip if you didn't know that, but that's why I bevel everything, because on the outside of the trailer where the wall is, it has to be smooth, so I can't have a weld proud. Anywhere that something's going to lay on top of it, it has to be smooth, so I want it to be welded as much as possible. So I'd rather, instead of not put a weld on that side, which I know some people do, I'd rather weld it and then just grind it smooth, so I can get as much strength and adhesion as I can out of it. So that's what I'm doing, but that's just a little tip, is to always, if you can, shave that inside. You just want the outside on an angle, but make sure you try and keep away from that face, because it just makes everything so much easier to put back together, because if you lose the shape and you change your angle, it's not going to be as nice to weld, it won't fit as well. It can be done, but it's a lot easier just to do it right. So if you can always stay away from the inner edge, and just do the outer edge. So it'll allow you to have enough room that you can weld it up and you can grind it smooth and it'll be nice and strong. So just a little tip. Okay, so you can see what I'm saying when I put this in. You see how that's got a nice little valley for the weld to sit in. So that's why I went with the round edge pipe versus the other, so I didn't have to take the square edge off. It gives me lots of room to weld. So because this is rounded and that's rounded in, I can go all the way around. It keeps the weld smaller, less bulky, and also means when I'm done here, I can smooth this off because this is the face. So the flat aluminum will sit along this, so there can't be a proud weld. But that's why I bevel everything. Everything that's on the face is like that. The inner corners I don't worry about because there's nothing there, so I just leave those welds full. A lot of people just don't weld the inside outside. I want to. If I can weld all four sides, I will. Certain spots I might not be able to, but in general, this is the way to go. I bevel most of the things I weld. Whether you need to with aluminum, that I don't know, but I do it anyway out of habit with steel. But that's what it does. It gives you that nice little valley for everything to sit in. So for this wooden jig, it works really well. However, I don't rely on it for lining up the heights of my material because the wood is 1/2-inch plywood and it can twist and move. So every piece, when I'm welding it, I'll double check the square, but it's all squared already, but that's no big deal. But as far as the height goes, I always bring it up and make sure that it's on the same plane, because it doesn't take much for it to be out, and then it will look crappy. And so if you're making a jig like this, keep in mind that just don't weld it, assume it's all the way down and it's going to come out straight, this, that, and the other. You can't really do that. It's fine if you do that wood, if it was had a big frame on it and structure and it was held 100% straight, then you can maybe do it. I always find it's good practice to go and double check with a straight edge, something to just make sure that you're on the right plane, and even that it's not cockeyed or crooked, because that can happen too. So just a little tip, if you're gonna do something like this, don't have too much faith in it. It's mostly for lineup to mirror the other side, because obviously the bars will still be in the right place, but it doesn't mean I couldn't weld and the thing be up here or down too low. So it kind of clips it into place, so I know when I do the other side it matches. It's easier than trying to clamp things and hold it in the air, so it's easier to do it on the ground. But it's more of an easy way to mirror it, but you want to make sure that you double check as you go. So go around, tack the whole thing up with the straight edge, make sure it's good, and then you can weld it up. Flip it over, strap it to the table, weld the other side, and you're good to go. But that's just my recommendation if you are looking at this. Oh, that's easy. It is easy, but it's not. You have to go through and check every one still. I do. So. All right, I got the other side all grinded up, and I flipped it over, clamped it down to the table, tried to adjust a little bit here and there for any warping. It's pretty good. So basically, strap on the mask and weld up this side. I didn't show me grinding it because it's not that exciting. So this is where we're at. Welding up this side, and then this one's done, and then tomorrow I'll probably weld up the other side, do the same. So the galley part's all done. The front section I will leave till it's up, because I still got to do the custom angle on the front. so it's easier to do later. I don't want it to be in my way if it is. So yeah, that's where we're at. It's time to weld up this side. Okay, number 2 side is first side's welded, grinded. This side's grinded, prepped, cleaned, ready to go. So I just gotta weld up this side, and then the second side is done. I spared you all the grinding and everything else as much as possible because it's not that exciting. And not that this is, it's exactly the same as the other side. But after this, the next step will be actually putting the walls up. So I just wanted to get that galley kind of figured out. It's easier to do it on the ground. So this is kind of good. It's a big day because this is the last step before I put the walls up. I mean, there's still a fair bit to do, more than a fair bit. There's tons to do, but it's good. It's moving forward. When the walls go up, that's a good sign. It's starting to be something. So it'll be cool. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Take
cool. The girls came down, got a feel for the trailer, tried the couch, tried the bed, took a look at the galley and see what might work for us, and just kind of hung out. It was nice to have them come down and check it out. They hadn't seen it yet, so that was kind of fun. They seemed to all like it, so that was good. It'll be a nice memory to remember when we were building it. So basically where I'm at, I'm getting ready to weld the walls on, and what will have to happen is all this down here needs to be clamped so it's flush with the floor underneath and straight up 90 degrees to the frame and to the other side, so it's all square, which can be a bit of a trick to do, so I'll get there when I can. You can see how they go together. And like I said, these will all be welded in here underneath, so I want them to come perfectly flush so that those rails are perfect all the way down. The hardest part is actually getting the wall to be straight, 90 degrees. So what I'll have to do is basically cross brace, kind of like that bar is there, except for I'll probably tack probably 2 bars, maybe 3 aside on an angle, and just making sure that's 90 degrees, because just because it's for the same distance on the top doesn't mean it's not out of square and tilted. So that's where I'm at, just kind of jigging it up so I can get it all in place. I mean, it's looking pretty good, it's looking pretty straight. You only get one shot at this, so you got to take your time. So that's kind of what I'm doing, is squaring it all up. Once it's squared up, I can weld the bottom, I can put in my roof spars, and then I can start building the back half here, as this is still unfinished back here. That needs to be all cut off, but I want to make sure that's exactly where it needs to be before I go cut that off. There'll be another bar that comes across here along the bottom at the back, and then there'll be another one that tips forward, kind of like I'm doing at the front. The front, basically how it's working is I will have this little piece here, just a sec. This little piece here will come, I can't show you that well here because there's a clamp. Maybe a sec. No, maybe the other side, hold on. I forgot about the clamp thing. So the other side, basically how it's gonna work, that supports my floor close to the edge, and this is basically where the skin will land. You can see how it's, the frame is inset here. This will go like this and sit on the front, so when my skin comes down it rests on this, and then I'll get welded on the inside and the bottom. So that's basically what's happened with the front. So the back will be very similar, except for it'll be the other direction. It'll be tilting forward. So basically I'll have one across the back to support the floor, that's 90, so it's straight up and down. Somewhere probably as close as I can get to the back, somewhere probably there. Oops, sorry. Somewhere around here I'll have a 90 degree that comes down, a big plate here, and then this one will go to the corner and tip forward all the way in so it's flush with this, and that will be the back corner, and then I can build the galley hatch. But getting this all squared up is a bit of a job, so that's what I'm doing. Just working on the back piece here. This is left open because it has to be all customized and the frame can't move. It's easier just to wait till I get to a certain point. So basically what I'm doing is once I get this thing all squared up, I'll do this after. I think it's going to be easier, and I can get it finely tuned better. So what basically is going on, this is in the thickness of the metal, 1/4 inch. That's in 1/4 inch. So this bar will go right across the back like this, creating a perfect edge along the bottom for the sheet to lay on. And then there will be another piece that goes up and down right here because I need my 3 inches for my floor. So I always like to end on a 90. So it'll have a 90 here and there, and it'll probably be just welded into a triangle, so it should be super strong. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just fitting this. I forgot my camera today. I'm just using my phone. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's a little bit back and forth, playing around. I didn't really film it, but it's not rocket science. I basically take this big wide flat piece out here. I square it to the back, get my measurement out, draw my line, take off a 1/4 inch each side, and then cut it up. It's a little awkward to cut with the sides on, but we make it work. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing, getting that so it's ready to go. And yeah, so this piece will go across the whole back, have a nice edge all the way in the back. Inside it'll be all like that, and then it'll get another piece on the back side to make it into a full frame. There'll be a bar up here for screwing and attaching and stuff. That's basically what I'm doing. Bracing it all up, trying to get it so when I weld the base on, it stays nice and square and straight. Unfortunately, these aren't where the bars are going to go. There's just too many things. I need too many clamps, and as many as I have, I don't have enough. So basically, I'm just clamping the hell out of it and want to keep it perfectly straight while I weld up the bottom. I gotta weld all the bottom up, and then I'll do the roof separately, but I wanna make sure it's square, because if they're tilted out or in, then it's gonna be just bowing the sides. So I need to have them square while I weld the bottom, and then I can use all the clamps and everything else to help me do the roof. But there's just too many bars needed, and I don't have any, and I have a limited space here. There's a bunch of wood in my way right now. So if that wasn't there, I do have some bar clamps, but they're really, really big. They're probably 10 feet long, which I just don't have the room in here to deal with a 10-foot bar clamp. So this is basically what I'm doing. Just used as many clamps and bar clamps as I could find. I put in the right length spars. They're gonna be in there. They're just not necessarily where they're gonna go. And then I just used some ratchet straps to basically just pull it together so I know I'm at the right distance, and then all I have to do is square it and make sure that I'm square, and then I can weld this bottom up, and then I can carry on from there. But that's kind of what I'm doing. You can see I have 10 billion clamps on it. So I don't want to get too far along without making sure this thing's perfectly square. It's a little bit of a job. Second set of hands for this one would be good, but with COVID and everything, it is what it is. Trying to make her happen. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Just getting this thing ready. I'm hoping to weld up the bottom this weekend, and once the bottom's welded, I'll start laying out the roof pattern of where the spars all go, the vent, all that stuff. Weld on the back here where the angle goes, finish all that up. I just want everything to be perfect before I start doing that. Actually, the front has to be welded on too. The bar that goes straight up and down here. The front one is still off too. This little guy that sits, this guy here, that sits right in there. That'll all be welded. So that'll finish the front and back all ready for the skin to lay on it. Then it's just figuring out where my seams are going to be for my top sheet, all my mounting holes for the interior panels, as I'm doing a little bit different. And also I will have to do a bunch of other little things. I have to trim out the door frame because I want 2 seals. So this will have a plate welded on the inside here that comes up, and so I can put a seal on the inside, so it has a double seal on it. And that's where I'm at. So the beast is coming slowly. But yeah, unfortunately, not enough clamps, not enough manpower to try and do this. It's pretty difficult when you're not really set up to do this stuff. But I'm making it work. So far, so good. So there you go. Hey guys, so today's the big ceremony. Welding the walls to the base. Pretty big step. They won't be coming back off. I won't completely weld it, as it is more prone to twisting without the bars completely where they're going to be. So what I'll do is, it's all braced up, strapped up, cross braced, anything I can do to probably hold it. And after, what I'm going to do is just going to tack it all up really well, and then I can get the front brace on, the back brace on, all the little things all tacked in place, and then I can start putting the roof bars in, all the bars that hold the top, the fan, all that stuff. Get that all in place, get that all tacked in, and once it's a complete unit, then I will completely weld it just to keep it from twisting and moving. It's just better. So as much as I wanted to weld it up and call it done, to weld it is actually no big deal. It's getting it all set up to weld once it's all tacked and the roof bars and everything are all done. It should be fairly easy. So yeah, that's what I'm doing today. It's all ready to go, hopefully anyway. I did my best to try and get everything sorted. It's braced like crazy. So yeah, that's all I can really do, is to get that sorted. So it'll be basically, I think I showed you guys before, the side bars here. So where I'll be tacking is all along in here, all the way down. Basically, like I say, these walls become part of the bottom structure. It all becomes one. And then if I can get to it, depending on how it all goes, I'll get some of the front bars on, like if you can see it, the one that goes across here and finishes here, and the custom rear one, to make those weird angles so the aluminum has somewhere to sit. But that's what we're doing today. The official ceremony where it all sort of comes together. So. you'll see I set this a little bit farther this way and not in the center. This one will be attached back here and then get welded up here, so it'll strengthen it a lot. But the floor sits on top of this, so it has to be up far enough where I can get the floor on it. So that's why this isn't in the center, that it's closer to the edge. It'll get the same amount of strength by the time it's all done. But I needed it to be up far enough out of that little curve here to be able to have the floor at the back sit on it. So that's why it's like that. We got the end welded on. The inner part for the floor to sit on. So the floor will sit right on top of here. And then this will be the piece that goes on the back and it'll sit right along like that. Fortunately, I'm short a piece, so I'm going to have to leave that and go get some.